So if I have all these Skittles and I asked you what percent were green, you would know that the way to find that out is to add up all the total of the Skittles and then figure out specifically which number of those were green. And then you would divide the number green by the total, right? So 27 divided by 174 would give you 15.5%. And that's how you would do any of these colors. So what we're going to do is percent composition, which is the percent mass of any compound of each individual atom. So if we're doing this C3H8, you'd have three really large carbons, right, that weigh 12 each. And then on each of those carbons, you would have some oxygens, or hydrogens rather. And hydrogens are traditionally white, so we'll just do them blue. So you have three of those, and then two here, and then three here. So the question is, what percent of this is the black carbon, and what percent of this is the white hydrogen? And the way you figure that out is you do just like we've been doing. You're going to multiply the carbons. There's 3 atoms, and each one weighs 12. So that's a total of 36. And then you're going to look at the hydrogens, and there's 8 atoms. I don't know why that's changing. There we go. So I'm getting these numbers from the periodic table, the 12 and the 1. This is how many atoms there are. So that would be a total of 8, and that makes us have a grand total of 44 grams. And so the percent carbon would be the amount of carbon divided by the total. So 36 divided by the 44 would give you the percent carbon and the percent hydrogen. So let's do that real quick. So that's 81% of that. And then you can subtract actually and figure out that this one's going to be 19%, but we can do it the other way as well. So that's going to be the percent hydrogen. It's going to be 8 divided by 44, which is actually 18. So I guess that was 82. I didn't round. So that should have been 82 if I looked. 36 divided by 44 was 81.8, which would round up to 82. Or you could say 81.8 and 18.2. Either one works. All right. So that's how you do percent composition. So for this one, it's much longer. We're going to have sodium, right? So we have 2 atoms of sodium, and each sodium weighs 23 on the periodic table. And then we're going to have 1 atom of sulfur. Oops. And each sulfur on the periodic table weighs 32. And then we're going to have 4 atoms of oxygen, which with hindsight should have been red, but that's all right. Each one of those weighs 16. So that's 64. And then we're going to add all those up. So it's 142 as our grand total. And then if we wanted the percent sodium, percent sodium would be the 46 divided by the 142. .4%, and then percent sulfur would be a 32 divided by 142, which is 22.5. And again, we can just subtract those from 100 to figure out what the next one is, or we can do it by math. Either way works. So percent oxygen is 64 divided by 142, which is 45.1. All right, so there you go. That's how you do those. This is the percent nitrogen in an amino acid. So amino acids are important to live, right? These are the essential amino acids. They all have an amine group, NH2, and then they all have an acid group. And the acid group in this case is the carboxylic acid. So because of this, and then notice the red, the tail here at the bottom is different for each one. But at the end of the day, if you take the amino acid, the percent nitrogen, you get around 16%. So all of these are about 16% nitrogen on average. So it used to be, when they were figuring out if dog food was made correctly, they would just test the dog food and make sure you had 16% nitrogen. And if you had 16% nitrogen, you were putting more than likely the essential amino acids in there. Well, it turns out that people recently, and this was actually not that recently, but I think it was like 2011, were putting melamine in dog food. And the reason they were putting melamine in dog food is because it has all this nitrogen. And so they weren't actually putting amino acids in. And so the percent nitrogen was less than 16. And to boost the percent nitrogen, they would throw some melamine in there. Because I remember when I heard about this, I was thinking, why would you put melamine in? It makes no sense. It poisons dogs, and that's the last thing you want your dog food to do. Well, they were just trying to get through the process of making sure they could have the percent nitrogen that they needed. So now they don't do that anymore. They look for the amino acids specifically, but that's just a little life lesson. Okay, there you have it.